Well, hello, hello, hello. Our therapy is starting right now after a long-awaited Easter holiday break. Hopefully, you guys had a wonderful Easter. Myself, I had a little bit of nice nature walk because spring kind of in the air. It all depends. And here we have somebody outside the studio
That's right.
trying his hardest to work in
Yeah,
the wind and in the sun and smoking cigar. That's how you do it.
yeah.
Kobe crack.
Hello, how are you? I don't know how much longer I'm going to last out here, but we'll give it a try. We'll see how it goes.
Well, it's a good for to see you outside after a long winter, so it's
Yeah.
always see the sunshine in the back, so it's always good.
Well, and that's exactly the thing. Like it was so sunny outside today. I'm like, fuck it. I'm gonna set up outside. I'm going outside. I've been in the basement for too long. It's time to
Yeah,
sit out in the fresh air. Well, fresh
exactly.
air.
It's a good one. It's actually
Yeah,
really fresh, probably.
yeah.
So knowing Canadian winters, you guys, I mean, strong you are, strong you are.
It's true. I had to put on a jacket, even though the sun is shining. Well, on this side of the house, it's pretty shady, but the wind
Yeah,
is starting to pick up a little bit. So,
yeah, that's good. Anyway, so I don't know. Have you seen Avatar?
have I seen Avatar? No, I haven't. No, I haven't even seen the first one.
What?
Yeah, it just never
Really?
looked like something that was super appealing to me, to be honest. I
Yeah.
never, I mean, I'm sure it's fine. It's just, it wasn't something that was kind of high on my, I need to see this. And it's not on Lillian's radar, too, because if it was on her radar, then we
Hmm.
would have seen it for sure. But it's not even really something that she's spoken about. I'm sure we'll see it at some point. But did you just see the new one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And my brother saw it too. He really liked it.
We thoroughly enjoyed it. We
Yeah.
kind of so I'll tell you one thing. The Avatar, it was quite a big thing in that time. I mean, it was the first time where Cameron came up with some crazy, things with the blue people. Some of them were calling them Smurfs, some of them were calling something else. But oh, yeah, exactly. It's a special effects and his way of thinking. Hi, Andrew, by the way. That's the way how Cameron's thinking. It's kind of nice to go into his psyche. But I'll tell you one really good thing why I was really impressed with the new one. You realize how the long production movie becomes a thing to behold of when you start watching the quick production movies. Long production movie, it seems to be they set to idea, they went to edit properly, they didn't have choppy lines, there was no awkward moments. It was smooth but long, like always. Camera movie, once again, is a long one. So 3 hours something and a bit, yeah. But honestly, it didn't feel like it. We had watched together and we were like really amazed, to be honest. It's much better than the first one, first of all. It felt like that. The story was more intense because they were going into the world of those, like people comes in to take over, like kind of like subject we all know, like war, take over. Earth is dying. Let's go take over some other people's land because they have this amazing connection to nature and all that stuff. So it's basically that. But they had elements where the family came into play, and I was really surprised by it, to be honest. And we were like, really, like comparing to the first one. And I remember clearly watching it in the cinema. The first one, I enjoyed it, but this one felt like more mature side to the Avatar.
When was the
Yeah.
first one?
Oof.
How long ago?
Long 2000 something.
And I mean, I
I
guess
don't.
that's probably part of it too, right? Like the special effects have grown by leaps and bounds since that first one, so that probably helped it a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he is the guy who likes to basically play around with the technology a lot to help him to create the special effects. And he was the one guy who did the 3D. I think isn't he the first one who actually came up with the 3D movie? I'm not really sure in that fact, possible.
Yeah.
But
No idea. I got no idea.
the thing is, what he did is underwater this time. And it's amazing to look at. It's really beautiful scenes. The creatures, the 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 creatures he created in the second one is almost like felt like, yeah, you use something what's already existent, so you kind of find it familiar, but it's also look different. So yeah, and it felt like we were talking about it afterwards, saying when you watch a Marvel movie, which is production a year, most a year and a half, you realize how choppy they Marvel movies are, really. And then you see Avatar, who's been in production for years, maybe even 5, 6, or even more. I don't even know.
Oh wow, I had no idea. Yeah.
So yeah, so you can see clearly who took attention to detail and really didn't break down to the point. So it's really nice. Hello, Rick Ray.
Hello, Rick Ray.
Uh, and do you think that because of actors had more chance? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Is I'm telling you, is feel you can see it. You can actually see it in the movie. It's smooth. There's no chop lines. You don't question the characters, or you know the actors have a moment of like, you know, or somebody didn't do the editing really right. You know what I mean? This one is felt like they had an idea. They went for it. They worked really hard. They didn't have like a. I guess, as I say, it took so long to make it because they haven't had such a quick production work. It just felt smooth movie, which is great, I think, especially if you want to invest 3.5 hours of your, not 3.5, but 3 something hours of your time in cinema. Let's say it this way.
I mean, there's something to be said for like having a project that they know they're going to make money, having a guy attached to it who's got a history as a moneymaker, like that freedom that's allowed once you hit a certain level. The kind of gloves are off, you know what I mean? Like take as long as you want, have as much money as you want, you know what I mean? Like they just, I think it's one of those things they probably knew that they would make big bank off of it. So it's, let's just do it and let you kind of flex and kind of go as far as you want, right? That must be amazing as like a creator, as like an artist, having that free reign to just go and kind of realize your ideas in your mind, right? So
the thing is, I also, you know, like I watched some of the interviews from the actors, mainly not the Cameron interviews, but the actors, because I'm wondering, because it takes a long time to just get into production. So Sigourney Weaver, whose character perished in the first one, spoiler alert, but you'll find out when what will happen. Anyway, in the second one, she's still there, but not her. So because of avatars and all that stuff. But she said there's 3 more movies coming out. So there's gonna be another maybe 10 years, 12 years, 15 years in production until they want to finish, because he has a story still to tell. And what I really enjoyed, creatures or animals of the water had almost a main stage, because we were harvesting one of the particular, like a whale type creatures, for something which was curing humans. Like that's what we always do, like destroy until it's benefiting us, but nothing else are part of that. So so that's because everybody's saying ocean is still there to explore for us as humans. So I think he just like, come on people, look in the ocean, like kind of that kind of reward for that. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, right? Like the final frontier on Earth is the oceans, because there's just so much we don't know about the depths of the right. So yeah.
I mean, yes, we do know we want to go space and explore what's above there, but what about here on our little grounds, with the water surrounding that? Oh, look, if you're saying, Rick Ray, that's what happened, I don't know. I don't really know the details.
Yeah.
I really don't tend to go into details either, because it spoils a lot of it. Like
these days, it makes a lot more sense to do those kind of things back to back, right? Then they can kind of schedule it and promote it and everything, right? So
well, there you go. Yes, so there you go. So yeah, as I say, it's a love child for him anyway. So and everybody's saying like technology advanced way too much. What you gonna show to us? Like how are you gonna surprise us? And the guy came up with something, and I think a lot of people will be surprised what they're seeing, especially if you did watch the first one, because there's something for you to grab on from the first one, and there's something for you to be surprised. I probably freshly watched just that, to be honest, because I felt like the story was really well thought of, and how they went about to do that, and how the humans parts came in. Maybe that was a little bit maybe questionable in my sense, but because I haven't watched the first one in a long ass time. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just like kind of excited about going to watch something different than Marvel. You know what I mean? Especially like longer production movie.
Totally, yeah. No, it's nice to have a break, because those are pretty much the only movies we go to the theater for these days, as well as the Marvel stuff. So it would be good to have a different experience in the theater,
Yeah, and I, as I say, especially I enjoyed it because of the I don't know, that blue. I guess the blue color is so relaxing, and the ocean waves, and it's just the way they took. And they also they dwell more into the more tribes of the avatar creatures. I don't know how they call them now. Like, of course, I'm blanking everything when I'm going live. I forget exactly where they are. But yeah, I recommend it if people want to. I mean, you don't have to go cinemas. Honestly, you can just sit down and enjoy it yourself. So you probably will be good to have Sunday or
Yeah.
Saturday or weekend break for you to watch something together, you know?
Sit down and veg out. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
just get into that different kind of types of world of Cameron and
Yep.
his way of dealing with situations and stuff. Because the water scenes were looking quite like really realistic to me, and like they were like, you know, like I don't know. I'm not a specialist, but just a viewer, in my opinion. Anyway. So yeah. And did you watch anything? Did you catch up with maybe Mandalorian and stuff?
What was the last episode we saw? I think we missed last week's, so I think we're just one episode behind now. We ended up watching 2 back to back, but fucked if I can remember what the hell happened in them. To be honest, I really can't. Oh, she now became kind of like the go between, and she was going back to get the rest of her so-called Mandalorians together, who are now like space pirates or whatever the hell they are, mercenaries. So she was going to get them to kind of come back. That's where we left off, I think.
Hey,
Hello,
Celia.
Celia.
Nice to see you. Yeah, it's already. I think it's the last episode. I think.
Oh, is that true? Oh, wow, that was quick.
Yeah. I don't know. But I think I heard it was the last one. But you know, because you know the people they have to comment afterwards what they seen as well. But I enjoyed it. I think Mandalorian lore is more fascinating to me than anything else. And due to Mandalorian lore, I kind of went to delve into that Clone Wars. I think we spoke that last week or like a week before, 2 weeks ago, about I was starting to watch Clone Wars because I never did. And I'm definitely really enjoying that, and how Mandalore looked like. And I could see in Clone Wars because they show Mandalore. And it was just like great nation, of course, with everything there for them to pick on. And now it's basically proper wasteland and really difficult to be part of the land generally because of the wars. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the lore of it. I mean, I was just so taken by Andor that's kind of where my head is. Even going into Mandalorian, I'm like, I want to see this, but I want to see more Andor first. You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait for that. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it kind of wraps up for sure. But
well, everybody's now kicking to exciting gear because of Ahsoka is getting a TV show. So Rosario,
yeah, I saw that trailer. It looks pretty good, actually.
Rosario Dawson is she looks great in it for sure. Looks badass, and she always does take the roles, like no matter which one she's been part of, like even like in Marvel universe, she was great as a night nurse. She was fantastic in there, I think.
She was amazing in Death Proof, the Tarantino movie. I love them in that movie. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. If you go, I love Death Proof as well. So she's great. I like her generally as an actress, so it's nice to see her being part of that as well. But apparently there's an animated TV show to find out who those characters are with her in there. So I think it's called Rebels. So
that's right. Yes, Rebels. That's it. Yep.
Because I don't have a clue. None of the characters appear in the trailer. I was like, I don't know her. I just know her. Because first Clone Wars, she's there all the time as a youngling or Padawan as they call them. Look at me going Star Wars. And also, by the way, Picard is well worth for people to go and bloody watch it. People go watch it. It's well worth it. It's so beautifully done. Really good. One of the best.
Is that
seasons.
On Disney as well?
No, unfortunately not.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what's is it Paramount? Is that what who owns it? I think that's who owns all the Star Trek. I don't know. To be honest. Oh yeah, because it's Prime in here.
Amazon Prime. Yeah, that's right.
So that's who owns it. But honestly, this season of Picard is bomb. It's exciting. It's as exciting. I used to be excited when I was watching in the 90s, my Next Generation and stuff. So really good. And we're like, oh, is it coming out? Is it coming out? It's like one of the things I'm excited about it. So yeah. Anyway, so
and they're doing the same thing too, right? Like one episode a week kind of thing. Is that what they're doing as well? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's always nice to have to watch those kind of stuff. It gets me excited, I guess, if it's good production, good storyline, especially with the way we want to take, and they take back what's happened beforehand. It's beautiful, and even though they're old and and they like really scary because that's what's gonna happen to you in the future. And like, oh my god, people die, like really age, but yeah. Oh yeah.
I would think you could, right? Like, I mean, it's obviously it's better if you know the other stuff, I assume, right? If you know the next
Oh
generation and things, right?
yeah. Oh, I am Star Trek through and through, so I watched most of the things. The only thing I have not now, Babylon, no, that's not that. But I watched most of the stuff. So Deep Space Nine was the only thing which I've never watched when it came out originally.
Right.
But I am caught up now to that, and I really enjoy it. I mean, it's nice to grab those small details because sometimes the overall picture it doesn't make you clear if you're not aware of it. But of course, you don't have to though. So I
Mm,
mean, you still can enjoy it to the point. And then
totally. But I think
afterwards,
you enjoy it more if you know the characters and know their history, right?
well, it's the same thing. If you, it would be more appealing to some people also, and I think I am to that point where the more lore of your characters, like X-Men. What's the background of them, and now you're reading the new ones, sort of. I mean, now X-Men is kind of more overcomplicated, but in generally, when you watch something like that or read comic books in generally, you want to go back to somewhere they have already in history, and you go, oh yeah, this is what really happened, and it reminds you of the story of what you read prior to that. So. No, so you no nothing else to.
Now, the only other thing I watched is I watched that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles documentary again that I have just because I'm deep into that these days. So I rewatched that just to kind of see it again. But I didn't watch anything else this week. I don't think there was nothing else that, at least not that I can remember anyway.
So
Yeah.
you getting the rubbed off with the turtle powers, isn't it? Like turtles everywhere.
Turtles everywhere, man. I'm all about the turtles. It's insane. Like, I'm all about them now, which, I mean, is not a surprise. It's not
Uh-huh.
exactly a surprise because it's not like I ever hated them or anything.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't ever really know much about the comics and stuff. But now
Hey,
I'm
Damien.
now I'm all about it. Hello.
Yeah, it's one thing. I admitted to you on the Twitter. So to everybody, as fan as I am of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so when I started to become a fan, it's all started with a cartoon series, of course, the famous one. So that's when I went absolutely bonkers for it. And I've never finished the original run or Eastman and Laird, which I admit is kind of shit because I should. Although I know a couple of I know all the stories, I know because I researched and all that stuff. But when I came to collecting comic books, the new series came out. And that's when I started like, okay, and I waited for 30 issues, don't forget, until I decided to pick up them in the comic book format. So, and then I start to go absolutely bonkers for that series. And it kind of, when you have turtles, you're already reading new stuff. The older stuff becomes on the wayside. And I was thinking to collect them in the original format, of course, because I'm a comic collector at the end of the day. But to my surprise, not really. I realized how overpriced and how quickly it's becoming overpriced. At least those first 10 issues, I presume. Because
even
even the.
even the later printings of those early issues, like, because the digging I've been doing, looking online and stuff, like even the later printings of them, depending, obviously quality it's all about the quality of them, even they can get pretty pricey. Like a fourth printing of #1 was still, like, for a halfway decent copy, was still like $150 Canadian, like I
Mhm.
lucked out in getting that beat to shit fourth printing of that. Like, the cover is going to fall off at some point, you know what I mean? But I mean, it's good just to have it, just to have the book. But it's amazing how expensive even some of those later printings are. Usually those later printings are a little cheaper, and it's hard
Mhm.
to find the collected editions of that early stuff too, right?
Very
Because it
much
goes
so.
out of print so quick, even the hardcover collections and things.
Yeah. Damien, I did pick it up, but I have to receive it from the post. I have been so Fangirl Volva Viking has been out, and my comic book guy has been promising me to send me, and he receives it, and they're all damaged, so I have to wait another bloody time. So I'm unlucky for that sense. So I'm kind of waiting to get he said, I'm going to send you when you the Fun Girl comes out. So I'll send you some comic books which you have in your pull list. So I'm waiting. I'm really looking forward to that, Damien, for sure, because Stan Sakai is doing the Turtles. I mean, come on, man. But who wouldn't be excited if you are a Turtles fan? So, and especially Usagi as well, which I've been missing a lot because of this. I don't know. We don't know what's happening with Dark Horse and Usagi stuff. Anyway, when is it going to come out or not?
So all the issues he got in for Fun Girl got damaged. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So
Oh,
he
shitty.
so he received the packet, like the redelivery, because he's saying I didn't have enough. So they send it to him, and he opens it up and say, well, it's trashed. I can't really send it to you. And so he asked for a replacement, because that's what happens usually. You need to wait for replacements. Oh, that's good. Yeah, it is a mini series. It's about what, a couple of 5 issues, I think. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
That's cool. So the first issue just came out last week. Then is that what you said? Oh
Yeah.
wow, maybe I'll grab it then.
Yeah, it's it's not going to be a long one. I mean, at the end of the day, he has other things to, I think, Usagi thing to do anyway. So, but yeah, it will be great, because it's been a while since, I guess, Usagi and Turtles being part of it, because Turtles been in the DC lore with Batman and stuff like that in that realm. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, because just having Stan Sakai, whatever he came up with, like, it's always nice to read his stuff. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we can kick off with something to read. So you can start if you are ready in your
Sure. Yep.
in your conditions.
Give me a sec.
Live
Let's see.
outside.
I'll try my best out here.
Okay.
I'll start with something not turtles yet though.
Uh-huh.
Oh wait. I read a shit ton.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, an absolute. Yeah, I mean, because it's been kind of like I'm now up to two. I just read my 200th book. Actually, maybe we'll start with that one.
Oh wow.
I have a box
200?
here with that. Yeah, I'm on 200 now for the year. So,
Jeez.
so I sold a bunch of books
Uh-huh.
to just to kind of clean up the collection. It's stuff that I've had sitting for a little while, and I went and gave a couple of things a chance, including this one. And I'm absolutely getting more. It's Kyle Baker's Plastic Man from 2004.
Wow.
And oh my goodness, is it ever fun? It's a really, if you see it cheap or if you see a collection, pick it up. His art is fantastic. The story is really fun. It's really silly. It's really kind of comedic. But his art style is what really sells it, right? He's got this super nice and cartoony style. So it's sort of continued from the first issue, but I think you can jump in pretty much anywhere.
Okay.
But the thing that, like, there's some really good gags in here, and the layouts are fantastic. So he gets yeah, absolutely on a reading tear. He gets as kind of what happens in kind of like he sort of works with the cops on these cases, but he's getting an FBI agent to come and work with him. But I mean, look at this animated motion here. This is the FBI agent that's going to be working with him, and she kind of beats the hell out of them. And because he's this rubbery kind of figure, it gives it more of a chance to kind of play with these different faces. Whereas so they're kind of doing this investigation together, and every time her back is turned, he's making faces at her, and when she turns around, he's straight. Turns back, and then he's copying her, mimicking her. But some of these expressions and some of the figure drawings that Baker is doing here, this is one of my favorites right here. Are just they're so goofy and just so silly. Little Basil Wolverton-ish feel to it as well, which is going to get my attention.
Yeah, plop.
It's so much fun. And the way that he uses the pages, at one point they get trapped in this room. They get trapped in this room, and the walls start closing in on them. So he kind of uses the white space on the page to kind of show that even better.
Nice.
And finally he escapes the room, and we get this kind of 2-page spread where he's kind of entwined with all the gears to try to stop it. But she's right in the gutter. So that use of the page is really great as they kind of escape out of it finally. So
Yes.
It's so much. It is so much fun, and I've heard a number of people talk about it over the years. Probably people like Colin, I think, have talked about it. Damien too, possibly. But this is a really good series. I'm not sure how long it ran. It ran
Mm-hmm.
for quite a while, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, I really really loved it. It was a really just kind of just a fun book to read. So not much else
Cool.
to say about it than that. But I mean, it's all about Kyle Baker though,
Mm-hmm.
making these rubbery characters even more cartoony than they already are. So super fun, really really great.
Okay.
That's all I got to say about it, really.
Sorry, I was doing some research, but you finished way too fast.
Oh, you wanted to take a picture? Is that what you said?
No, I'm doing some research to see how many
Oh,
issues has been going for, but it does,
right.
I can't see.
Yeah, this one is dated March 2004.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming the first one came out February if it was on schedule.
yeah.
But I think at the shop he had like from number 2 to like number 10, I think somewhere in there. So I don't know if it was like just a 12 issue series or how long it was, but at least I know where to go to get some more if I want some more.
Oh, there you go. It ran almost 20 issues. There's a nice collection of. Yeah, that nice collection hardback is 120 pounds.
Oh geez, for the wow.
But it looks fantastic. The cover,
Yeah.
like he's like wait, if I can open it. Um, Jesus. Okay. No. Yeah. There you go. Okay. Wait. If you can see that.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah. Oh, that's really good.
Yeah. So
So
that's
he's kind of
the.
formed into the book. That's really cool.
It's a deluxe edition, so it's probably that's why it's much more pricey. And I think it's because of the obscure character. We're not going to print that many, and if there is printed, so it's usually in hardcovers. They go pricey stuff as well. It
And
looks
especially
fantastic.
Kyle Baker is a pretty big kind of name as well too. He's got a real hardcore fan base, so it's no surprise that it went out of print really quick.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. So it's my turn, yes.
It is, and as you're talking, I'm gonna start moving inside. It's just the wind is picking up. It's gonna be disastrous out here. So
Yeah,
as you're
indeed.
talking, if I disappear, I'll be back.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right. So while he's there walking, I'll talk to you about where I picked up library, of course, once again. And this is the Dark Horse, which is quite nice to see once again because not always I've seen Dark Horse collected editions in library that many times, which surprises me to see. And this one is called The Secret Land. Christopher Emgard and Thomas Ira created a story about two lovers, as you can see in the full picture, in the Nazi time, so 1940s somethings, where she is a secret spy, he's a soldier. They fall in love, but she has to leave. And she has to become a secret spy. Oh, cool. Nice one. Um, and so the art looks really good for what it is in the comic book sense. Um, the coloring maybe in some ways the faces is a little bit too glossy for my kind of like. So basically, they have this moment that they start talking about. This is a story about those two lovers who basically fall in love, and she's like having to tell, and he's telling the story about his time being part of the covert soldier being, and he is not happy that he's not seeing her anymore. We have this connection, and one thing they wanted to tell to Trevor to remember when they have to basically go apart with each other's lives. They say ashiteru, so a Japanese way to say I love you. And yeah, so basically they say goodbye, and she's like, "Wait for me," and something like that. We will meet each other and stuff like that. And then they kind of like, as I say, tell the story of his first and his experiences in the war, where not everything was going well for him. They unfortunately had to be covert in some areas where in some ways they didn't succeed, even though they blasted their way through. And what it is was that he's getting a little bit more depressed now due to he got a telegraph saying that she's dead. So now there's not really, like he can take risks. There's not her for him to see. And also we jump back into her experiences. So she's part of this ship where they go. She's part of a systems of a professor, and they're going into the secret land in Antarctica, where apparently leftover Nazi group is taking shelter there. And they were saying, no matter it is that Hitler is dead, we will continue going with a plan, and that hell Hitler will be, like, gonna get his. We will get the freedom for that. Or whatever they wanted to take over, and everything like that. What surprising to me, it was going into elements of creatures and horror type of elements, where he's a creator of this super battery, I presume, which basically kind of powers up the secret weaponry or solutions for them to being part of or they would be scared of. And in order to succeed, they were putting the pressure on the professor. And if people were dying right, left, and center, apparently they were having Russian capturees in there as well, who putting more pressure on the professor in order to do the job. And really weird stuff started happening in that while we were in Antarctica. So when they switched this on, she started seeing some sort of visions. They start having nightmares. People start killing themselves. So it has those paranormal elements, spy elements, love story elements, and the story went through really well, to be honest. So because of she's part of this group being secret agent and overseeing whatever they Nazis do and report to whoever she's working for, she couldn't stand it anymore and took the risk and giving the telegram to a nearby ship, I guess, and and they basically, the message went through, and to surprise of our male character in here, he was absolutely amazed and shocked and relieved that she's alive, because he basically didn't want to do anything with that. And they came to him to ask her identity just to make sure, because she was really, really undercover, like those kind of like agents who basically you can't say much of them, you don't hear from them for a really long time. And yeah, it's really had those elements of paranormal. People were being basically eaten, people were killing and slaughtering, and in the same time survival of the fittest, basically for a couple to survive and make sure they are basically become together. But it doesn't have a huge of the basically the happy ending. It did have some sort of cliffhanger. I think maybe we were hoping to do another series following through this, but I really enjoyed it. So The Secret Land by Christopher M. Gard and Thomas Ira. And to my fashion, I had to draw, so I did drew her as the main character in here. So that's
Beauty.
my thing in here. So yeah, why not? It's a bit, it's a bit wonky, but like I do my best.
Sure, but like I think we've talked about before, you go straight to ink, right? Like you don't do any pencil. Yeah, so that's
yeah,
it's still goddamn impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Damon. Yeah, it does feel like it could have, as I say, I think that I honestly felt like after reading this that they needed going again. They have to have something else to tell. I think they would be needing it because of how they managed to destroy that battery element or whatever that thing they were creating, which basically diverted them to a different part of dimension. I guess that's how it went for this. So that element. But when she came back and when they basically survived, she wasn't herself anymore. Why that happened, we don't know, because it actually kind of had a scene of a Terminator. The Terminator came back. He was all naked and lying in the field of like debris. She had that scene in this. So I was like, now it just came up to my mind. Yeah, this is how how that is, because she was having this talk with these creatures of our. Um, she was talking to this guy. Oh shoot!
Oops, that
This
didn't sound.
yeah, this guy. So he's like sort of like the other dimension creature, which they opened it up, and I want to show you. It's a bit of a maybe a spoiler, but hey ho! I want to show you the scene where she lies there like Terminator. Oh, there. Well, you kind of like this is Jesus, what I'm doing. So this is like the aftermath.
Yep.
And then she's there, like naked in the middle of it, lying, and she's been held up by her boyfriend.
Right. Good arm placement.
Yeah, of course. You don't want it to. Right. I guess dark horse. Yeah. So there was this boom happening as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so it's interesting if they would have gone to do more issues where they went with that, because like lovers came back to each other after realizing she's alive. He went for it. He actually, without permission, he basically went for to save her life, even though his superiors, even though he wasn't soldier anymore, but because he knows her, they basically let him be part of it because he has a background of being a soldier. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he basically didn't listen to his superiors and just went for helping her. Otherwise, I don't think she or anybody else would be surviving, because what happened in that particular land in Antarctica. So interesting, like elements of history with love and affections to a point of like paranormal things as well.
Okay, yeah.
Because of the like opening that kind of like wall between two dimensions and stuff. Whatever is behind it, you never know. So, and whoever was behind it, this one wasn't really good at all, because people started dreaming all sorts of things and killing themselves. Some guy was just took a fork and took his eye out.
Oh Jesus! It's like Crossed Universe or something, some Avatar press kind of book, yeah.
Kinda, but not that, not
that.
It's really tastefully done without being overly gory. Let's say this way, because I don't really stomach too much gore. I mean, this is the most freaky kind of thing happened with this professor going absolutely dark, and he's becoming this part of, because he doesn't want them to destroy his creation, because he's worked so hard, so many people died, and they were like this, like bloody all that stuff, like live kind of things, instead of being like, and the Nazis was like, I'm not gonna let you destroy this, because this is part of, it's a right thing to do, like we're gonna have to take over the world like always we did. So yeah, so it's really interesting, like as I say, nice to get something collected of Dark Horse, because as they like Damien say, they do collect them for only mini issues, which is not always easy to tell a story, to be honest.
Totally, yeah. Well, and then it's also really difficult to pick up the back issues, because you're never really sure of which one you missed, because which volume is it? It's not really labeled on the front. Like, I don't know when all that started with them, but it's real frustrating just to kind of, what part of the story is this? And then you got to open it up and see the indicia inside. And that's not always easy when you're buying it, flipping through, generally comic people don't like you open up bags and like flipping through books, right? They kind of want you to buy the book, and, so makes it hard to follow.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you get them in like, let's say in the cheap bins, I think you're allowed to scroll through whatever, because they tend not to be bagged, really.
I found it really depends on the seller. Like there's some
well,
sellers that even with the cheap ones, they just don't want you to. Like I always ask just to be kind of polite. And like you said, a lot of times they're like, yeah, of course, go ahead. But there's some people that just, they act a little kind of weird about like you've opening up bags and stuff. So.
But that's the thing, man. If you have missing page and I'm paying for the full thing.
Right.
What do you have to hide? That's what I would think about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so totally.
You're allowed to see the product you're buying.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, and for the big books, I've never had a problem. Like if I'm spending a chunk of money on some bigger books, generally they're okay with it, because for that exact reason, like, hey, if I'm gonna give you, $50 for a book or whatever, like I want to see a flip through. I want to see exactly what I'm getting, or whatever the price is, right? So.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So now you're nice and cozy and warm.
I'm nice and cozy now. It's much better. It was a nice try outside. I made it for a little bit. It's not going to last. I gotta wait a couple more weeks, probably at least 2 more weeks, I think.
You're brave already being there,
Yeah, yeah, no, it
Probably
was getting a
wasn't
little
the
cold.
warmest, even though in the sun.
Well, and that wind was really picking up. Yeah, so so
Yeah.
speaking of Terminator, I don't
Uh-huh.
know where I saw this. I don't know
Oh
if it
wow.
was on kayfabe or what it
Uh-huh.
was,
Uh-huh.
but I found it yesterday. So a quick backstory. So when I found those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, it was at this Dugald comic show, which is about,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's about a 40-minute drive, 35-minute drive from our place. So not too far. The
Mm-hmm.
guy who kind of runs it, his name is Wayne. He has a business and lives out in Dugald as well. So when I sold these books, I had some extra money. So I contacted him and said, hey, when's the next show that you're doing? I'd love to come out and see you. And he's like, you can come by my shop if you want. He owns this sign printing place. It's called Quality Signs or something like that in Dugald, Manitoba. So I went to his place with the kids, and I dug and got some books. But he also kind of the amount of books this guy had in this place was unbelievable. Lots of like Marvel, DC stuff, but he had some kind of indies. So there was a Terminator book that I saw, I think maybe on kayfabe. I don't remember exactly where. That was
Mm-hmm.
art by Guy Davis. He only did
Uh-huh.
the one issue. It was Alan Grant and Guy Davis with a Jeff Darrow cover. So as I was looking, it's been on my radar for a while, and I just can't find it. Every time I see Terminator books, they've got a
Uh-huh.
ton of Terminator comics, but never this issue because it was just this one shot. But I mean, first of all, check out that freaking Jeff Darrow cover.
Well,
It's
this
pretty fucking amazing, right? So
this one just for cover. This is one I would like to have just the cover.
yeah, just that bit of flesh hanging off there. So that was an added bonus having the Jeff Darrow cover, but it was
Jeez.
Guy Davis that I really wanted and Alan
Mm.
Grant doing the writing. It's
Mm-hmm.
not up to the usual Guy Davis. Honestly, I feel like because I don't know all of the films. On the front, what does it say? It says a Dark Horse movie. It says Dark Horse movie special. I don't know
Huh.
the movies that well. I don't know if this is like an adaptation of one of the movies. I'm not a
Huh.
hardcore Terminator guy. Um, I felt kind of lost throughout. I don't really know. It was a very unsatisfying read. So I'll kind of say that
Oh.
with a one shot, you kind of hope that you're going to get kind of a complete story. There was a complete-ish story, but it
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was missing kind of what happened before this, and it felt like I was missing what happens after it. So I don't know if it was kind of a book that then led into one of the early miniseries, because this is from, what year is this one from? This is from 1998.
Oh.
So I don't know what was going on Dark Horse Terminator wise at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, look at that. I like that.
so kind of cool to see Guy Davis's art. It's Dave Stewart on coloring, isn't it? Yes, it is. Colored by
Of
Dave
course.
Stewart, but the art is by Guy Davis. So he's doing everything, pencils and inks, and it
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't have that kind of, I don't know, there's something a little digital about this. The stuff with Guy Davis that I really respond to is kind
Mm-hmm.
of his more scratchy line. It's not like a smooth line that he inks with, but this one has that kind of digital feel. And it was just lacking a little something. I mean, there's definitely shades of Guy Davis and Dave Stewart. Like that panel specifically really screams those two artists for sure. But there was just a little something missing from it overall.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it was still pretty interesting. So a couple of Terminators are sent from the future, and again, it's always the same thing. They're going to kill the kid, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So there's them in the desert, kind of making their appearance
Mm-hmm.
naked, and then they go towards. Pardon me, they go towards this band of people because they sense that there's people, which is clothing and weapons and things. So they kind of make their way there and make short work. But it really felt like I was missing a lot.
Oh
One of
my
them
God.
gets a knife in the head and kind of keeps going, obviously,
Yeah.
So,
Of
um,
course.
yeah, I mean, I'm glad I finally found it, but I don't know if this is something like that you should rush out to try to get. But if you see it for cheap, I'd say give it a shot because it's worth it to see the art. And
Mm-hmm.
get another kind of look at Guy at another stage of his career, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's definitely not as good as like Baker Street or Marquee. If you see the Marquee stuff, don't
Mm-hmm.
even hesitate. No matter what the price is, honestly, grab Marquee stuff because
Really.
it's so amazing. Um, and it's really hard to find is the other thing. So I would
Oh,
say that
of course.
anytime you see Marquee stuff, just grab it. Just absolutely grab it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I kind of wish there was a little more of a series with this, with some
Yeah.
Darrow covers on it. But I'm glad that I finally found it. Regardless,
Hey, Mister.
hello, Miss So.
Uh, for that cover only, I probably would have like
Yeah,
look for, because
yeah,
that's just, if you are hardcore Darrow,
yeah. It's
you like
just cool,
that.
man.
That's exactly what you expect him to have. Like, that's just look
Totally.
badass, and he makes it so realistic. Also, even though it's a cartoony style, but
Yep.
because of his great detail and stuff like
It fits in with
that.
like his hard-boiled world. It feels like, right? So, like
Hmm.
that sort of level of destruction and
Yeah,
mayhem, right? So,
yeah. Okay, cool. So it's nice to see that I mean, you know what it is with that Dark Horse, that when the Dark Horse was in that white label, like behind
yep.
background, it's always has been very difficult to find any back issues in that sense. Maybe because they weren't printing that many issues at all, or even though I remember there's some a couple of things you have, like to collect. I was looking for, and usually the older ones, especially like like something I like to go like Hellboy, especially like the
Hmm.
Hellboy earlier stuff. Jesus, would be so difficult. I mean, Hellboy, of course, it would be an extra
Yeah.
element of being difficult to find
Yeah.
in
Totally.
single format. So because that's just sells out. Yeah, but yeah, it looks nice. Oh, it's nice to see Darrow.
Yeah. Totally. It is. Yeah.
Kind of, oh, Shaolin Cowboy again. Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's also why I was like, how have I not seen this around? Like
Yeah.
because it's such a striking cover, especially when you look at the other Terminator covers. Not that
Uh,
they're horrible, but this really stands out from the other Terminator stuff out there.
yeah,
Yeah, super
exactly.
thrilled he had it.
Cool, man. Well, I'm glad you managed to get hold of stuff like that. You
Hmm.
always get luck out in that area of your
I
Manitoba.
I luck out, and that's the thing. I luck out because
Yeah,
like I wouldn't have
yeah,
been able. Because I mean, we've talked about it before. It's not like I've got boatloads of money these days, so it was nice to be able to sell some books and then
yeah.
turn around and buy some
Well,
books with that
well,
money,
that's the
right? So
beauty. You can. That's the
yeah,
thing.
totally.
I start to become kind of hesitant to see if I sell, because I usually post something on eBay, and if it's
Hmm.
not key issue, people are not even looking at it. Like you don't get traction whatsoever, because
Totally.
it's all the same about like you have to put the right words in the main title in order to
Yep.
be searchable, and if you have more than, let's say, 2, 4, 5 issues, you have to pay for postage. It's
That's right.
unfortunate, but that's how it goes.
Yep.
And then I'd hate the most part. You see somebody selling something, but they charge for like one issue, and they charge like 5, 6 quid for posting. Just like ridiculous.
Hmm.
Way too much, I think, in my opinion. But
I just sold some stuff on eBay this past week that had been sitting there for I don't even know how many months. Like it's
yeah,
so hard to get exposure on eBay anymore. You
mm,
kind of have to pay that extra bit to get that like promoted or whatever the fuck they call it,
yeah.
which I
But then
never pay for because I'm not paying them any more money than they're already getting. But it's so difficult nowadays. Like I have stuff sitting there now that's been there probably a good year. I don't touch it. It just automatically renews because I have it at a buy it now price,
mhm,
which I think is a reasonable price. But it's just so hard to kind of sell. I mean, it's hard to sell the off the beaten path stuff anyway. But
yeah,
there used to be a time on eBay where it was much easier. I had a lot more success selling all sorts of weird shit because people were looking for it. Whereas now, I feel like there's not people looking for it. And I think, like you said, the shipping really chases a lot of people away. I really have it pared down now where if I end up overcharging, it's by like $1 or $2. I'm pretty much on the mark now. I try to cut it as low as possible. I reuse packaging. I make packaging here at home. You know what I mean? So I don't have to buy packaging for it. So I save some money there, which allows me to really just like, if I say it's $20 to ship within Canada, it's probably going to be $18.75. Like I'm really, really close with it. So, and it does make a difference. I feel that people buy it based on that as well as the price
mm,
of the books, right? So
yeah,
yeah, but it's super hard now. It's really, really hard to sell shit on eBay, I find.
yeah, yeah. eBay
Yeah,
isn't easy. It never was easy, but now it's an actual difficult thing.
yeah.
Okay, my turn. So another library thing, something of more unique part because it doesn't have really much of dialogue. so more of silent, and up to you to decide what. Not up to you. You'll basically realize the situations. It's called Crushing by Sophie Burrows. Who published this? Um, it's called David Fickling Books, which I've never heard of this publisher. And of course, it is. Oh wow, it's in Oxford. Interesting. So I'm local, like I'm Oxfordshire. So this is Oxford. So and I found this in the library. So I've never heard of it. Like I say, I usually pick up. I really like this, by the way. This is like what Dark Horse does with the hardcover
Yep.
editions with that fabric canvas slash thing on the
That's
on the
hilarious that you
spine.
say that. I was going to say the exact same thing. I love that kind of binding. It's
Oh, I
beautiful.
absolutely. I think it stands out really well. I think it really helps too because it has this gold. You see, like really, it looks sharp. The rest of it, and it doesn't age as badly as would be glossy part. So this glossy part, when you come in and out of your bookshelves, it just has sometimes blemishes, especially if you have a book you really like and you keep on taking it out of your shelves. And anyway, so just the small things. Anyway, so Crushing. It's a story about a girl, a boy, who live in London, and they're having a hard time being lonely. And I actually absolutely know exactly how I felt because I lived that kind of life in London before I met my husband. Um, Being in London, especially of a foreigner as well, especially if you are from small town and you come into London to explore, you try to explore different parts of your land and being a student and all the stuff and living the life isn't easy. As big as the city is, it can be extremely lonely if you don't know many people, or you have some sort of like they're afraid to go out because of some sort of things and stuff like that, or it's difficult because you have to make your life. And she is the girl who's basically sitting reading some magazine, which about sex. It's called Gloss. So she's looking at it and she's like basically kind of like she wants like a human contact, have a relationship with somebody, and then it's basically all in pencil. It looks really kind of actually really works. I don't know if its camera comes out really well with this coloring and all that stuff,
Gorgeous,
the
man.
pencil lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really well, very simplistic art, but it's to the point. And I really like this element when you wanted to make the scene where exactly how you are in a busy time in London Underground. This is how much people you usually are fighting for to get enter to the tubes, and you are there waiting. Some really brave guy just standing mind the gap. No wonder they say that, but honestly, there are also situations where there are lots of things happens.
Yeah.
Well, kind of, I think Damien, that would be interesting because that would be kind of like similar to what she experiences in a way.
Right.
Yeah. I bet you, Celia, you would enjoy it. It's, as I say, it doesn't have much of reading to do. She does that panel tells the story. It's everything kind of like exactly how it is. Like you stand in the tube, nobody looks at you. There's one guy maybe look at you. You start thinking maybe he's looking at you, and suddenly you just read the newspaper and you go like, oh, disappointed, because you just look for that connections. It's really well told, and then it starts a little bit different. So she's watching Titanic, all romantic movies.
Man,
she has a
look at
cat on her lap. She's just having, but she also flicks the channels because they all love scenes where she can't, like she's longing for that kind of thing, and she's like just changing the channels. Even the turtles,
Nice.
doing it, and she's like, oh my god, I'm switching the shit off. And then she goes to see in her fridge, there's nothing in it, so she decides to go to the kebab or pizza place, which you have plenty of, like restaurants in London. That's the beauty of that kind of living because everything's available for you. She's entering, and there's this guy standing next to her, and he's kind of the same, and that's where the book starts to look into his life. Oh yeah, I think anybody who has experienced the like different environments, especially if you go without friends, you decide to go for by yourself or studying on something, and you basically chopping away of doing something, getting to know the area, it really becomes quite a lonely place. You have
Definitely
to
in a bigger
basically,
city, right? Yeah.
yeah, it becomes kind of like a very difficult part of life, you know, like to move forward, you know, do also sort yourself out of all the monies and all that stuff, and thinking about to basically make food for yourself and be social at the same time, by, you know, like in this sense. But I really like her paneling. And then these three guys who's absolutely pissed comes in there dressed like bonkers, because, you know, why not? They probably gone on the piss up, and they basically make a living hell for the guy, because they can, because, you know, like they, you know, they're drunk. So that's what happens. These scenes where the
Man.
girl pukes on your shoes, it happened to me like 5 times. You know, if you come to the, you know, like if you go, you know, like working late, especially if people used to go to the pubs and stuff like that, you come out of the tube and suddenly some girl like a right in front of you. You know, I did actually, to be honest, I did that to some guys. So it's just probably part of it. But it's such a kind of like look back to what I had as well in similar ways, but not in the same. It just reminds me of that being really lonely in the big city was something to behold of. It's an experience by itself. It's something I will never forget, but I definitely wouldn't want to experience it once again, because it feels like you closed off from anybody. You know, like you have family, you have a phone, you can communicate. It seems to be everybody there over the phone and you can do it, but suddenly you just come in this little place you rent, and it's so kind of like it makes you close in the box and you can't get out, escape from it. Your brain doesn't let you, you know, that kind of thing. You I have to go sleep because I have to go to study or go to work. I have to make the train, I have to make a tube and something like that. So it's funny, but the story goes to the point of really a good ending, I think. But yeah, it's well, as I say, it doesn't have much of conversation. He gets into an accident by bicycle. That's what really bicycles makes me afraid to even use in public transport, because lots of this happens in London. Actually, in my side as well, seeing somebody being basically pushed by a car, the cyclists and stuff like that. It's kind of scary moments
Crazy.
as well. But the biggest conversations you have, which is kind of doesn't really make sense, when he's in the hospital and doctor is telling him about his fracture in his arm, and there's the most reading you will do in the whole book, basically. Which most of the things is basically she's really putting that kind of like when you have head trauma, usually it doesn't make sense whatever the doctor is telling you, even though how good you think you can basically recovering and stuff like that. And then you only have this nurse who's basically make you feel kind of really comfortable if you are successful at that, but you can't really hear what doctor says. It's really nice and warm book, and if you guys can see it in the bookshop, but it's really well told. It's a nice little tale.
It's beautiful art. I love the art a lot.
Yeah.
I've never heard of Sophie Burrows at all.
Me neither. It's a lot, like it's something to discover. She also have some author's notes and acknowledgements, people who helped her to work with the storyline and who gave her this inspiration to use this book. But it's really well, production value is great, to be honest as well. The hardcover is beautiful. It's really well bound. It's and as a product itself, and the price in UK it was $16.99, so it's not a big spender as well if you are in UK. Also, or you can be in the library and work out. You doing okay there?
I think I'm okay. Something just happened with my whole system. Sorry, you're good. You're back now.
Cool. So hopefully, so anyway, so Crushing by Sophie Burrows, and watch out for this lady, because I think she would surprise you. And this is not a simplistic art style, even though it is, but she uses pencils to a really good fashion, and she has really great sense of using the colors in the right tones. This was the funniest moment where she goes to a dating app to look for a guy, and then the guy who she basically talks to starts showing her his butt.
Yeah, of course,
And then he talks about, you know what, and she like gets really scared and she like shuts down and actually she deletes the app, because she's like, oh my god. And she was doing it while she was working, by the way. So that's not great because her boss was really pissed off
So
because
nice.
she's
Those
working.
colors work
Yeah,
so well.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing, you know.
Yeah.
So and to my I had enough time. It seems to be once again. So where is she? There you go. That's my take on art.
Hey, nice.
You know.
That's great.
No, there you go. So yeah, it's
Are you halfway through that book now? Have you used half of it, you think?
Oh yeah, more than half.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been quite. I honestly, I don't. Maybe I should start putting numbers to how many because I don't really know how many in total I have read and drew on this in this
Right.
book. So maybe I should start putting numbers to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, this was surprisingly really mild and extremely entertaining, and in the same way made me think about my life in London and how honestly not really ecstatic in some days. You used to be so much. When I came to London, I was 19, so everything seemed to be like I could just break the walls. Everything is there for me to take. And then suddenly I was end up being in London, where I never experienced the volume of people you can have in one place. And especially if you're in center of London, that's even more daunting because people just like walk by you like this. And it's like I've only experienced that in the concerts, like when it's really packed up and everybody's like shouting and screaming, blah blah blah. That's how my experience. But then when you land and you start like, oh, this is what I'm gonna have to be like doing every single day.
Yeah.
But then you get into that mode of Londoner. You become one part of the cog. The cog you get into. And
Yeah.
go to the tube, you get pissed off if somebody even makes a noise because
Yes.
people take advantage of sleeping. I remember how many times I've fallen asleep in the tube while traveling hour to destinations, where he has to go, and then wake up in the right tube station. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Of course, not always. If you are a bit of like having a couple of piss ups, usually miss it. So yeah, that would be quite crazy, and especially if you go at the end of the line of the tube and it's
Right.
in the middle of nowhere, and usually like last stop, and if you can't get back home, you feel like
I was only in Ontario and going into Toronto for like a year. And even after that, just 1 year of being in Toronto, like commuting back and forth and going to school in Toronto, I could feel that kind of big city attitude, or bigger city attitude that was just kind of like, you don't realize it. You slowly start to change, you know what I mean? Because at first it's super alien and exciting and everything. But once you kind of start changing and becoming like a big city dweller or whatever, it's just a weird experience to kind of be in that. And like head down, walking down the sidewalk, and like all of these small things that are just kind of big changes to a person, right? Just to kind of exist in a big city.
It's just the amount of I used to be thinking how much traveling I used to be doing in the tubes, up and down, up and down, up and down. And it's like how much time do they? That's why I used to like people who were reading quite a lot. I was reading books, which were part of it, but not always. You fall asleep basically. I tend to fall asleep most of the time, but the books were there for you. Just do something. People put makeup, all that kind of stuff is like a thing, but it is what you do because you spend an hour, sometimes even 2 hours, just traveling to one part of London to another one, which is takes a shitload of time and it's really tiring. But
totally.
This book is basically reminds you how big city, even though so many people surrounding you, can make you feel so lonely in the middle of nowhere, like in the desert, but because nobody spots you, like nobody's gonna say hi. Like in here, in this village we live in, everybody, you can say hello to everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's a big change because you just have that connection and people kind of notice you are there. In London, nobody cares. You one ant in an ant house, man. It's like it's just there, so
one more person in the way. Yeah
most of the time. Go away, man. Somebody like runs towards the destination of whatever money they have to make. So yep, exactly. Reading, listening to music, it used to be a big thing. It's a moment, an experience you never forget.
Yeah,
okay,
totally.
your turn. Are you going to do turtles now? Turtles.
Almost. I'm gonna do one more book and then we'll do turtles for sure. This will be a good lead into it, I think. So I picked this up as well. So again, selling the books, going down to cover this one comic shop because I know he had some turtles in his back issue bins. So I figured I'd I don't know why my camera feels like it's zoomed in. My fucking giant head is even more giant than it normally is.
It's just really close, maybe. Well,
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's a proper contact. You see,
There you go.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Self-conscious. Thinking about it too much. So anyway, I went to cover to try to pick up some turtle stuff that he had, and surprise to surprise, like this is so Tundra did a sketchbook series. I think it was like 11 issues or something. I've been on the hunt for the Rick McCollum one forever, and even on my comic shop. Hello, Jackio. Even on my comic shop, it doesn't come up on there either. So I was super shocked to not only find a copy of the sketchbook series, but to find the Michael Zulli, the Zulli issue as well too. So with an introduction by Neil Gaiman, it is fuck, man. I want this entire series, even though there's some artists that are involved that I don't know very much about. But man, oh man, so Zulli did Puma Blues. He did some issues of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well too.
Oh wow!
I think 3 issues of it, and there's some sketches. So it's literally that. It's just pages from his sketchbook with some text by him as well too, just kind of talking about, you know, what the studies were for. He's big into kind of wildlife drawings because Puma Blues is all about wildlife and stuff. So, but you just get some samples from his sketchbook. And Zulli is a hell of an artist that even these rough sketches are just like they're phenomenal. They're really phenomenal. And just the way he uses the lines for like the shading on the faces. Yeah, they're some of my favorites as well too. I've got them as well. And they were some of the early ones that I bought, and it was based just purely off of him being the artist. So the bonus in this one is let me just find it. So you get some creatures, but then you also get some kind of like monsters and things too. So it's broken up into a few chapters. So this is kind of like the creature designs and the monster type of designs that he was working on. But you also get, let me just flip to it. So you also get this, he was doing sketches for a Lovecraft cover. So he gives you kind of some of the preliminary sketches and kind of what turned into the final piece. So you get kind of a side-by-side of, you know, working in his sketchbook to come up with some ideas and then kind of what it finally turned out into, right? Like the guy's a fucking unbelievable artist.
So is it only graphite is in the sketchbook?
Yeah, it is. That's correct. And yeah, I mean, it's all this kind of rough. And then, like I said, then you get some.
Oh my god!
Like, look at this. That is an intense piece of art, man. And the use of the white space for the hair is exceptional. Just throwing in this shading at parts here. Yeah, Zulli's turtles are unbelievable. As I'm making my way through the series again, I'll make it there. So he also does his Swamp Thing. So I think this one, the one on the left is Steve Bissette, and then the one on the right is Zulli. So he's kind of giving a comparison as he was working on some Swamp Thing stuff. But he also does, here's some sketches of when he was going to work on the Ninja Turtles stuff. So you get some preliminary drawings in preparation for working on the books. And the thing about the Zulli Ninja Turtle stuff is they look like real animals. They look intense.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. So even just very, very loose, just to get body movement and things like that. So you get a few pages of his turtles, which is really cool.
Jeez,
I think there might be one more. Yeah, there's one more page here. So something a little bit tighter, you know, but again, about that body shape and stuff.
That looks great, eh?
It's unreal, hey?
Oof. So
Like,
can you tell me now, because you people talking about it, so which issues Zulli did for the Turtles? Do you remember?
I don't remember the issue numbers off the top of my head. I'll send you a message though on on
Please.
Twitter to tell you.
Wow. That's scary. Jesus. Look at those lines. And that's the thing, like you say, he's using the, black and white, but he's using the whites in the right moments, like
Absolutely.
to work for him rather than he works the paper.
Yeah,
That's
that's right.
pretty. That's one. Yeah,
And then
really
there's
works.
some, let's see, he was doing some Sandman type stuff too, so some drawings there as well. Because at the time that this came out, he was working with Neil Gaiman on another series, which I don't know if it ever came out.
Look at that.
So like a Sweeney Todd kind of thing, possibly.
Yeah, might be, yeah. But did Zully do any Sandman stuff? Because that looks like he should have.
I think he did. I think he worked with Gaiman a couple of times. Cool. So here, and then there's this chapter called Sweeney. So this is some preliminary stuff for a project that he was working on with Neil Gaiman. So
that's a marker.
Yeah, that's marker for sure. Hey, yeah. And then some other sketches here. Jeez. Character designs. There was a couple of really outstanding ones as well. Yeah, this one was great because I love the face is unbelievable in that. So the study of the character. And again, like that body shape, the way he's sort of hunched over and twisted a little bit, like it's really unbelievable. 31, 35, and 36. Yeah,
Thank
3
you,
issues.
Rick. That's very good. Jeez, hopefully I can find it now because I'm going to look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is impressive, and I mean, Tundra is again in the world of
Tundra. I've never
in the books that you don't come across. Tundra is stuff that you just don't find out there. Anything that Kevin Eastman did under the Tundra title, I don't see it very often in the bin. So if I ever see just the logo, I buy it. No matter what it is, I just buy it because it's so hard to come across any Tundra stuff. I don't have much of it either, but the stuff I do, it's always super fucking impressive. And then there's just the last page, just a self-portrait kind of thing and a little blurb about him. And then a final page on the inside back cover there. But it's a nice thick issue as well, too. So you get, at the time that this came out, it was $3.95, $4.95 in Canada, which seems like an absolute fucking steal. So if you see this, it's called Noodles by Michael Zulli there. And with an intro by Neil Gaiman. So that was an outstanding find. Like I said, blown away that I finally found one of them because you don't see the sketchbook stuff at all. So
wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Honestly, now I definitely want to see Turtles because if that's what
it's amazing. Like it's really outstanding. While you're talking about yours, I'll pull them out of the bin just to kind of show you a bit of them.
Oh, really? Oh my goodness. Yep. I'm looking forward to that. So, okay. I'm going to waste some time then. Okay. Right. Oh, I will talk to my Turtles as well after you, but I'll show something. So, this Counterfeit Girl by Peter Milligan.
Oh, nice.
Glow and Dom Regan. So, it's 2000 publications, by the way, if people wants to know.
You showed this last time, right? Because
I said to you, I haven't read... this was published in 2019, by the way, and it's surprising. It's really good. It surprises me. At the beginning, it looks quite slow. It felt like the backgrounds, everything, the coloring was really gives you the sense of that kind of 2000 AD. Like the same style to it, and also. The storytelling of Peter Milligan is kind of also, if you know Peter Milligan's writing, is kind of gets to familiarize. But it starts a little bit slow with the introduction to the character, where we see her as a she lives in I presume it's like a futuristic London because of the scenes. They even have Orbital Comics sign in here, which is if you Damien, you're still here, you remember I took you there, one of the comic book shows most of the people visit when they are in London. So it's a futuristic tale of the girl who basically steals their identities, which can you install into a person because of the technology's advancement, and you can take over somebody's basically ID, their personality, and kind of like like their traits even. So you become like a more like mini computers, kind of walking computers, and she was specializing in that. What she had to do is also run away from the guy who is basically in charge of the town. So he is a kind of like royalty in that era, and what she was afraid of. That she will be caught by him because he has a grudge, because apparently in her previous time she had an affair with his son, and he didn't like that, and she was a member of somebody who is basically working for the guy in charge is called Albion Corporation. This is the sign I was talking about, Orbital Comic Books. If you are guys going into London ever to visit, Orbital Comic Books is the place for you to go and check it out. They have really good European section. They have lots of back issues, of course, and all sorts of things. So one of the places for you to go in and explore comic book wise. Anyway, so and it seems to be this book, this collection is divided by issues, because you keep on saying the alphabetical and the number of the story issue is starting from. It's a kind of bigger format in your comic book. Let's see if I can find a comic for you to. It's a tiny bit bigger, not as much, but it is bigger. So what surprised me about this story one is that she gets infected on purpose by Albion Kai, and she is basically, because she got installed a different ID because she was on the run, and by installing that she got ill to a point where she got an illness of the person. So when you steal somebody's ID, apparently you get like their DNA inside of you, basically to take traits of personality as well. And she went to the guy who's supposedly in love with her to help her to escape and find a new ID so she can basically run away. But to her surprise, he basically treated her to a ID which was infected. So apparently, if you take somebody's ID who has a cancer, let's say this way, and you get installed in you would get the cancer as well. She got a rash, which were talking to her. That's the rash, and that's the speech bubbles for the rash to talk to her. And that was hilarious because some of the speech bubbles are fantastic, because the way he says things. Don't forget, you're about to get a neuronism or something like happened to you, like you're gonna have like a lung collapse or something, or your lung. I'm gonna go into your lung and something like that. And he was like a speaking to her, and she's kind of felt like she was insane. And it's fantastic little tale. So, to my surprise, the story went so. Because of her work, and she was stealing IDs or giving to people new IDs, and the way she got infected, she's realized that she doesn't have no identity whatsoever. She actually doesn't know where she's come from, because the real person who she was supposed to be is somebody else. And she did like, what the hell? Because the memory. So she kind of like starts kind of like doubting herself, and she knowing, understanding what was happening with her. And that disease was basically killing them step by step. She was puking her guts out. She was still on the run. There's plenty of action. And it had a really good reward. I won't spoil this one because it's kind of like really important part of the tale. Who it is, how they became to be, and where she's from. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Honestly, Counterfeit Girl it's a something really kind of like it really, of course, gives you a sense of 2000 AD realm. Kind of thing.
Totally.
I presume I didn't do any research. I wonder if this hasn't been printed there, but because it's beautiful coloring, lots of bold coloring in here, it was interesting to see, and I really enjoyed it. And it was very surprising, and I didn't think that as well. I didn't think that she wasn't an original person who she was keep on talking about it. This is the judge apparently in that time, holograph, because she was captured. There used to be robots in there where basically scanning all the time. So if you're infected, you get arrested or you get taken away to quarantine. And then afterwards, they scanned her again, found out that she was using illegal identity. So she's not who she was supposed to be, and the part of the basically is for her to remove those things, and you can basically destroy herself what she actually is, so the memories can be wiped as well. Really good, very futuristic, and I really enjoyed this element of the storyline. And I was, as I say, I'm not going to say the end part of it because it would be kind of like really big spoiler of the storyline, but really enjoyed it. This is a surprise, but one of the good things, Peter Milligan's work done, really good and very imaginative, like the futuristic style. Not
He's
boring.
always worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, and never boring. And it seems to be like he always gets somebody to work for him, and always make sure that they have like really kind of like bold coloring schemes. And I think it really works for his work, what he's doing. And also in here, there's some little information. I can't. Yeah, this is for Gary Leach, like little messages in the things. Steve Dillon died, so they had a bit of for Steve Dillon in here, sad face and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. Really cool.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
One of the, as I say, not surprised, but like you never know what it is, how it is. And this is my take on Counterfeit Girl.
Sweet, yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
It's awesome.
And it seems to be people are talking. Hey, Jared.
Hello, Jared.
Online with Zuli. He was asked why he left comics. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I have a feeling like the industry would spit you out. I obviously I don't know, but it feels like he's a guy who probably is like capital A artist and probably takes some time on things, and you can't exist in a system like that when it's about pumping out the product, right?
Oh, yeah. I would love to see that Hawkman. Oh,
yeah.
In that art. Because of this really stiff art. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the beast by itself, the industry as well. And it's a sad thing to see,
Totally.
especially the caliber of artists you have, and they just put on the wayside because of...
I feel like, though, that nowadays, like it was, in this kind of black and white boom, I feel like nowadays the industry is much different. Like, yes, there's absolutely the mainstream kind of like machine part of the industry, but it feels like there's so many other smaller and self-published and independent and small press or whatever title you want to put on it. It feels like there's a lot more room these days for people that want to do kind of these different kinds of projects. But again, then you're dealing with potentially, although a guy like Zuli is probably going to gain a lot of interest and easily make money on whatever he puts his hand to, but it feels like there's more room for somebody like him, for more kind of artistic personalities in the modern kind of industry, just with how kind of fractioned it is. It's not that you just have to go to Marvel and DC or even Image anymore. You can do whatever, there's so much more space for people, right? So
yeah, and the caliber of this art, I think.
Oh wow, he did some Spider-Man. Jesus.
Imagine that.
Probably looks like a fucking spider. Yeah, it's probably, he's an actual spider with a little bit of man in there. It's probably unbelievable.
Yeah. Hairy, fluffy one.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
The fluffy spider.
Yeah, totally. Something horrific.
Yeah. But the caliber of his art style, you would think that he would definitely grab an attention of people, but never.
You'd think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not a style that people, again, it's only speculation on my part. Maybe it's a style that people just aren't drawn to anymore these days. Maybe that like black and white boom was exactly the world that he fit in because of how kind of unique his black and white work looked. So I pulled the issues that he's done, the Turtles issues. So here's
there you go.
Here's 31.
Oh wow, look at that.
So there's kind of his take on the boys and
even
Splinter.
Even the rat, the Splinter is bloody rat.
And so you open it up, and so this is the first issue that he did, And I mean, you
Bloody
open it up
hell.
to page one, and right away
Shit.
you're kind of hit with what you're in for with an issue of his turtles. I'll just show
Imagine,
you a couple of pages.
imagine if you have done like Crow series, you know, the you know, oof, that would be suiting. Oh, look at that! Look at that
Yeah,
mask and menacing look. Ooh.
amazing stuff. So I'll find some of the. There's Splinter there
Ooh,
again. So
bloody hell, man.
yeah, super amazing. Like, it's really amazing stuff. This is some of the first stuff that I found as well
Yeah.
too. At Cover to Cover, he had them sitting in his back issue bins, which are kind of buried underneath the other long boxes of, you know, Marvel and DC and stuff. So
Oh,
me down on my old man knees pulling out these long boxes. So there you go. There's our first shot of the quartet.
wow, look at that.
Yeah.
You know what they look like? Because it's in black and white, they look like statues, you know, like they are there just to on the show, you know, and because of the way it feels to
Yeah.
on the thing.
And dude, like, it's amazing. It's really amazing stuff. These 2-page spreads. That's been one of the things that's honestly been so enjoyable of going down. I'll show you when I talk about, because I'll talk about issue number 1 there, that yeah, maybe I'll wait until we see it. It's just seeing some of these spreads that there was just, you know, as much as this black and white world was its thing, after reading so many black and white books, it's crystal clear why this turtle stuff really stood out to people at the time, because it hit so many different marks. But I mean, it's just page after page of just gorgeous shit. So that's issue 31. And I'll just
Did you
quickly show you the other covers there, because he did
did,
two more issues.
yeah, did you know that they printed hardcover in color of his
Oh,
art?
really? Hey?
Yeah, they printed out a just for his work on turtles in
Oh, yes.
hardcover edition and in color.
So this is 35. I won't show you too much of the insides. It's the, you know.
Terrence is your favorite X-Men he did.
Just as well as everyone's favorite X-Men member, Longshot. Oh, there you go, X-Men. I'll absolutely jump on that.
Hey.
Although
Oh, yeah.
I'd buy it to see his art, though.
Yeah.
So that's 35. And then the last issue that he, or at least I believe the only other issue that he did, this is number 36. So 36 there from 1991. And there's a nice close-up. Just unreal, you know. And I think one of the things that's so impressive to me about going through this turtle stuff, seeing this Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and seeing Turtle Soup specifically, maybe not Tales of the Turtles, but this Turtle Soup stuff, where they started giving over the characters to other creators. I mean, that's so incredible. And to see everybody's take on these characters is really fantastic. So the next one I'll talk about then is, so I did find a 4th printing of issue number 1. And it's, I mean, you can see there, like, that's
don't pull
there.
any harder. You're gonna lose it.
There. It's got a chunk out of there. You know, so it's well loved. So this one only cost me, I think, like $7 or something like that. So the thing that's impressive to me, first of all, like the interior cover here, just kind of Kevin and Peter talking, and they're talking numbers of how much they've printed of each of these different each of the printings. So I think it started, where's those numbers there? Blah blah blah. 35,000 copies of this printing. The first printing was 3,000 copies. The second printing was 6,000 copies. The third printing was 35,000. And then for this one, they were looking at doing 60,000. So, you know, it's unreal how, I think one of the things that is hard to, for me anyway, because I wasn't following it right from the beginning, it's the short time that the success kind of happened to them in such a short time. They really did just explode. I mean, like I said, I've said in the past, like I remember friends of mine being into it, and I didn't really get into it till probably about I think it was issue number 8 was the
Mm-hmm.
first one that I got. But being so steeped these days with all of these black and white 80s comics, when I go digging in the bins, the one thing that stands out to me about this one, amongst many things, is no shit, this was successful. It makes total sense. It's got that look of the 80s books that I love, but
Mm-hmm.
there's something about the storytelling. There's an extra layer to the art. There's the posing of the characters. This is a really, it's a really, I've never read the first issue before. It's a really solid story as well. And I mean, at the time, they didn't expect to do anything else. They thought that this was going to be the only one. So they made it a complete story.
Mm-hmm.
So Shredder ends up dying at the end of this one, and people ask them like, "Why did you kill him off?" It's like, because we never thought we would do another one.
Yeah.
It's always that we just assumed that this was just going to be a one-off. We had
Yeah.
no fucking clue that it would absolutely explode, you know.
Yeah.
And it's
But
just it's really quality stuff. So it's got the look that I love. The characters they're steeped in that 80s world, but like I said, because they're so and they're just such amazing storytellers and fantastic artists. They were huge fans of Jack Kirby, so you do see some Jack Kirby in some of the later issues, especially.
mm-hmm.
You get that kind of nice mesh of independent black and white with kind of the chops. Because I mean, one of the things, myself included, looking at some of those 80s stuffs, you know, you have to admit that the storytelling chops just aren't always there.
Mm-hmm.
They also have those storytelling chops, and then you get shit like this that just looks fucking amazing. I love the backgrounds. I love everything about those images, right? So
But this
I would,
scene is the most popular now because a lot of people doing that now, especially
right.
Batman brooding at the back, doing that stuff.
Yep. And also the other
Mm.
thing that was really cool as well, I've heard the origin story a million times. Just kind of seeing it again when Splinter starts talking about the origin story of the Turtles, how kind of
Yeah.
tied it was to
Yeah.
Daredevil's origin story. You know what I mean? Like, here's what happened. This kid pushed this guy out of the way. He got blinded, but there was all this other shit that oozed and seeped into the sewers and affected the rat and affected the turtles. So it's nice to kind of tie it into that world.
Yeah.
But it's been so much fun kind of diving into this stuff, because I've read an absolute shit ton of turtles this week, and stuff like this.
Uh-huh.
Their use of 2-page spreads in even these early books are really just outstanding. So it's nice to kind of see it again after all of this time, you know, and see it with
Mm-hmm.
different sets of eyes than I have now than maybe I did at the time, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's right. That was the Cerebus. Yeah, that was my first one. I've rebought it now, but that was my first issue. And as I joked about in one of my last videos, I mean, it was, you know, gigantic tits on the front cover. So I wonder why I reading underground comics and then seeing this turtles with this lady with gigantic tits on the cover. I wonder why I bought it. Um,
So,
so there's just so much here in this in this first issue. Yeah, I mean, I can see, I can absolutely see why people got addicted, because I'm addicted. As I was joking with Rasa on Twitter, like I'm now a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle junkie. And the other bonus with this fourth printing is they give you
oh,
some extras, so you do get a bit of the history. So I mean, that's the very first Kevin
yeah,
Eastman drawn,
yeah.
and then
Mm-hmm.
there's Peter Laird's version, and then there's the drawing that they collaborated on. So you get to see the very first the creation of these characters, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then early stuff of Splinter as well too.
I absolutely love the version of Splinter they have, to be honest.
Yep.
There's lots of the new iteration looks like a bit too polished, because the rat is the rat at the end of the day.
And there's what Shredder was gonna look like at first. And they said, it looks too much like a superhero kind of character. So they kind of started changing him and
Yeah.
adapted it to something different. So I think a good choice. That looks a little ridiculous, that one, you know,
Yeah,
with his
yeah,
starfish kind of head or whatever.
yeah. Because that looks more like a DC Starro character, isn't it? The guy with the fish thingy, the 5-star thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
And
great.
then some more sketches and things. So
yeah.
so
So did you realize that the turtles in the first issue don't have different colors of they covers? I didn't realize.
right.
I'll tell you why. So now you were talking about this.
Yeah.
And my last book I want to talk about. So because you were so much talk about turtles, and I realized how ashamed I felt that I didn't read any. Well, I did. I know all the first issue. I don't know how I know it, but I do know that.
Yep.
Because I guess I heard it. I've heard many million times over, to be honest. But what I wanted to show to you, they have a color
nice.
classics. So the same issue
Yep.
you were reading in the color.
Nice.
So it's a they come in the volumes. I think it's 4 volumes of the Turtles in not in hardback, unfortunately, or as far as I know. They came out with trade paperbacks of the collected editions of the original run, but in color. So as well, but I guess newer editions. So your first like a shadowy purple scenes, which is absolutely amazing, which I love. And that, oh my God, Rasa, what are you doing? Stop it! My fingers are doing every bad word. Anyway, and this scene here, when you were talking about Daredevil, because I'm a Daredevil fan as well, I think that's great. If that would be, you know what, I would say that Daredevil's Turtles' first appearances in whatever issue, number 1 or in this one.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it's absolutely fantastic as a comic fan to even think that there was Daredevil a kid. They have an accent, and at the same time Turtles had an accent. I think that's
absolutely. Well, and they're very vocal about saying how much they drew from Daredevil and Frank Miller. Like they don't hide it whatsoever. That they completely drew on. Even his style in Ronin is what they cite as well too. That they were using that as maybe even more than influence. Yeah.
And I read this one like yourself. I got so much more excited, and how much more I got out of this turtle stuff, and that origin story, it's fantastic. I think they should have kept it maybe in the new series. They were trying to change a little bit, but even Splinter and the color looks fan-bloody-tastic.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, it's really good. So and that's why retelling the story. But he was a pet. He followed him to follow his moves and stuff like that.
Yep.
But it's kind of interesting that afterwards they took the origin story where Splinter becomes the actual father of the boys, like ritual father. But then they, like the spirits went into the turtles and stuff like that. So it's really cool. I honestly loved reading this first, and I couldn't actually wanted to have it the whatever collected editions, but like you said, it's difficult to get hold of them.
Super hard to.
If you want to, like, they just came out recently in this huge oversized compendium of turtles in black and white.
I saw that actually the other day, but it was just too much money.
How big was it? I wanted to ask you if you've seen
it. It's fucking huge. Like it's huge. It's like omnibus. It's like omnibus size, but it feels to me, not being super familiar with omnibus or omnibuy, it feels even thicker than that. Like it feels unwieldy, but it was well over 100. It was like 130 or 140.
Yeah. It's very expensive. Very expensive. Yeah. So they just a bit of a color for you guys as well to see. But anyway. So yeah, they have done it. So that's the thing. It's beautiful to read once again the original story, and this is my take on Eastman's Turtle.
I just wanted to show you one other thing. So this is from. Oh, wait a sec. Let's see. Make yourself big again.
So that's my take.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, this is his more turtle art style than anything else.
That's killer. So. Even the lettering is great too. Like that's.
Well, I try to, because I really like that panel. I'll show you the. I mean, it's from the first issue, I think.
Yep.
Where is that? Yeah. You can show that stuff. Let me put you, and I'll find that panel. Show it to the panel.
So this is the movie adaptation that they did, and the one thing that I thought was so funny is whoever thought it was a good idea to give them tails that are always dangling between their legs. I know that that's something that they finally got rid of, but it's like, come on, man! Like, how are you drawing that for all those issues and not thinking it's just a dick hanging down there? So every
God.
time, because it happens in quite a few issues, and it's like that's a
Oh,
fucking
no.
that's a turtle cock. There's nothing else. That is not a tail. That's a turtle cock. It's unreal that they would have had that in there.
I can't believe it's such a big panel as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, giant 2-page spread of turtle dick. So Ragamuffin, if you're still out there somewhere, there's your penis for the episode.
Oh, oh yeah! Wow.
Trades. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the thing with the. I didn't realize. I mean, you don't realize afterward, but yeah, yeah, it was hilarious. But yeah, because I didn't realize. I don't even know when the bandana color changed. It has to be quite late in
From what I
series
remember
because
from them talking on the documentary that I watched, it was when it started to. They were starting to do the animated show, I believe. Is when it was, because they wanted something to make sure that they could distinguish them. Like, yes, they have different weapons, but we got to have something else as well.
yeah,
So then they decided on that bandana change of color to help
yeah.
distinguish them.
Yeah, that's which is absolutely great, to be honest. Although like all this old stuff you're looking at is kind of you're aware because you need to be aware of the guns and who's holding who.
Yeah.
But the easiest always for me to be always to tell is Raphael because he's grumpy as shit.
Yeah.
Always like, so it's the guy because he's always a grump, or he's always gonna be first in the fight and always gonna punch somebody first because he's just like, why wasting time, man? Just go.
The moody one off in the bushes, contemplating life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, I absolutely love cartoon stuff. I even try to. It's actually quite difficult to watch the newer version cartoons of Turtles because there were so many like more kid-like, like versions of that. And there's this recent Nickelodeon versions. They're kind of like between the kiddie and a bit more serious, but it still feels like something odd. But the stories are interesting because they are a little bit trying. I guess they have liberty to change some of the things, I presume.
Yeah.
I tried to show it to my to my son. He's like, Ninja Turtles, but then that's it. No cartoon, nothing. He's like, okay, fine. At least you're excited because he loves ninja now. He's obsessed, like ninja, and he kicks and kicks.
Yep.
Oh, he kicked me in my shin. That was lovely. So thank you. It's like, now it's funny with my son. So if I get hurt, he always gives you a plaster. Apparently, plaster is a healing thing for you because when he hurts and you put plaster on, that's it. It's gone. It's like magic. No hurt, nothing. So now if I get hurt, he's like, "Where's the plaster?" I'm like, I'm okay. I don't need the plaster. So
AFPC says in the chat there, Jim Lawson all day. I agree with you on that one. That's been one of the surprises with this Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a great series as well. Well, at least the first couple of issues. This one I think was the final issue, and I wasn't as crazy about it, but these first couple of issues are really, really good, and it's Jim Lawson and the names are still new to me, so I forget their names. Let's have a look so I can credit people.
How many issues in that one?
I think there's only 7. I thought in my CLZ it had 8, but I might be wrong. So Lawson and Brown on inks and Levine on doing on the lettering. One of the best ones. Where is it? One of my favorites. It was so goddamn good. And again, like I can see why some of these characters become big. So this is issue number 4, the story introducing the Rat King.
Wow,
dude, it is such a good fucking issue. So here's the Kirby influence right off the top. I mean, that is
for sure.
That's so Kirby, and I mean, again, they don't make any bones about it. They even kind of credit him on the side there as well too.
Oh, that's cool.
But this is such a solid issue introducing this Rat King character. Like, look at this. This is again straight out of like a Frank Miller book, but this is Jim Lawson and Ryan Brown. So they had as the main title was going on, they were doing this Tales of, and it was kind of given over to them to some degree. I think there's a couple of issues where it's credited. I don't remember if it's Peter or Kevin that's credited as kind of scripting or whatever, but I think from what I understand, they were pretty much given this title. And it just got so much because the company was growing so much, they had to kind of give it up because it was just, there was so many other things to do in the Mirage Studios, with character
Ooh.
designs for toy lines, with the cartoon, with the main title, that they kind of let it go. But this is still incredibly good storytelling. Beautiful, beautiful art. I think this has been my favorite issue of this Tales of so far. I only have
Mhm.
4 of them, but this has been the best one.
I like the way
Um,
that Casey Jones is drawn as well,
yeah,
with that
absolutely.
with that mask and stuff like that. Quite a.
Yeah.
I've actually seen somebody wearing that mask in Comic-Con. I
Oh,
really
did you
enjoyed that.
really?
Yeah.
And again, like, I just can't really. Just the storytelling is so fucking top notch
Hmm.
that it really adds to why it stood out on those racks. Like, it's
Yeah.
gorgeous art. It's still got that really solid, its foot is firmly in that black and white world, but the storytelling is just exceptional. And they're really engaging, like, again, for a comic book, but they're really engaging stories, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, this one was a standout for sure. And him finally
Oh,
kind of ripping off of the kind of cross or whatever he's kind of tied to.
yeah.
Um, but all of these kind of action shots and stuff are so great, really,
Hmm.
really great. So that was a solid issue. Yeah, and like I said, I've just been reading a ton of them. Like, I read the Donatello one shot, I
Oh,
got the Leonardo one shot as well too.
Jesus.
So I've just been reading, like, and the turtle soup. For the turtle soup, I would say this is the one to get.
Uh-huh.
So far, don't worry so much about the other turtle soup issues. This is the one to kind of get. I only have 2 of the other 4 though,
Uh-huh.
and they've just been okay. They've been mostly disappointing. There's a couple of good artists that make an appearance, like Rick McCollum makes an appearance in one of these,
Hmm.
but I think the stories are a little flat so far in this 4-issue run from 1992.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1991, 1992 is when that's from. So I missed
Cool.
what AFPC said there.
Yeah. Wait, this one or before?
Lawson's Megadeth backups and Archie's TMNT. Oh, wow, featuring the mute animals. Okay. He had
Yeah.
some of the Archie stuff. He asked if I was interested in them, but I said no, because what you were just saying is kind of how I feel about this. I don't know how much I'm going to like the later stuff, because I
Yeah.
really like the looks of these books, right? Like, I love the kind of grittiness and rawness of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Crack is. I'm I'm
Finally.
I'm turtles all day now. Like, it's over. Sign me up.
Oh,
I'm
you
there.
see, it took a while, but yeah, you got that. So total
I mean,
powers.
the thing is, I knew that it would be something that would appeal. It's just that I don't see them much around here. Like, I just don't find them. And
Tell
when
me
I
about it.
do, they're
Yeah.
pricey. So the only reason I picked any of these up is because he had a bunch in the dollar bins, because he recently bought a collection, and it was
Yeah.
tons of turtles. And the ones that were really trashed, he threw in the dollar bin. So I picked up some of those.
Yeah.
And once I finally sat and read an issue, that's when it
Yeah.
really sunk in for me.
Yeah, it's just that like I don't know, it's really well told story, like you were saying beforehand.
Yep.
The Rat King is the main protagonist now in this new Armageddon game, which I'm not
Ah,
picking it up. It's part of the run, original like run now, but of course in all offshoots. So, but the way he looks is nothing like it. This guy you showed, it's like
right,
a Rat King on steroids. The other guy is like scrawny, is almost like
right.
like old guy looking kind of type. So this
Yeah,
one looks like, ooh, I'm beefed up. I'm about to beat like
right.
the hell out of you. So it's kind of interesting the iterations. But yeah, they're still using Rat King. And another part of the lore, um, he has siblings, and all of them have some sort of abilities to basically manipulate to their own kind of like almost like 4 horsemen of apocalypse in a
Oh,
way,
right.
kind of like you can say that kind of thing, because one of them, she's like a geisha type of a character sister, and she goes like vampire kind of face into
Okay.
this. So it's actually quite honestly, this new series is absolutely intriguing, and they
Yeah.
were going like a bit maybe now it's like the Armageddon game is the biggest event they have done in a while, which I'm not like, like events things is not always thing for me either, but
Hmm.
I'm continuously picking up the run now into like 137, almost 140 issues now. So I'm about 110 issues in the series to picking up every month, or whatever time they're releasing them. But they have such a great stories as well. I think that's a beauty of the Turtles and the popularity, even though you kind of would be like, like because they're so popular, it's really kind of like you have to think twice what you're doing with the Turtles.
Hmm.
But Eastman has always been there, like he always in the background, and they take the time, and they always making sure that they kind of like goes with original stuff with a new, time, and they make something up to that because they're
Yeah.
now expanding the universe of the Turtles with a new turtle. Now you have 5 of them, not 4. There's a female turtle in there who used to be a part of the Hand, and she was made into become a turtle because of an event happened. So she was one of the Hand, like those, like followers. Like she
You
was
mean
just a
isn't it the foot or the hand or the foot? I always get confused.
foot.
The
Maybe
foot.
I'm
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
Daredevil.
Foot
There you
clan.
go.
Yeah,
Daredevil comes in my.
yeah,
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 it's a
yeah,
foot. It's a foot. It's a foot.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah,
You see, I'm already go talking Daredevil too.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
but yeah, they're introducing new characters now. There is this frog slash kind of looking turtley, kind of like frogs, kind of like ninjas as well in the new lore. So there's lots of things happening, which just makes it exciting treat for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely want to go back now and actually explore like Zuli.
Yeah.
Well, not aware of that for sure because it's very difficult to pick up any Mirage stuff.
Totally.
So when I was starting to collect comic books, and because I was thinking every comic book, especially key issues are very expensive, so the price tags above £200 used to be too much for me.
Hmm.
Never looked at it because £200 is quite a lot of money just to like just dump on something.
Yeah.
And I clearly remember uh, first printing issue 2 slabbed. It
Hmm.
was for £250,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I was thinking it's fucking expensive. And now that one is going for I don't know how many thousands now.
yeah.
It's
I have no
crazy.
idea. Yeah, probably a
I have
boatload.
not. I was not aware of it, in that time.
Hmm.
So that's how the things with comic book collecting, whatever you think is overpriced now, is just exponentially more.
Yeah,
Like Giant Tire X-Men is another one which I always thought this time was oh my god so much money, and now it's like
yeah,
10 grand. Like
yeah. Totally.
issue that 3,000 printing the original print Turtle #1. What 25 grand
Mm.
slapped? Well, no matter which
Wow.
kind of it doesn't have to be high grade either. It's kind of crazy how much they want for stuff like that.
Well, I mean, and it makes it to some degree, it makes sense with some of that stuff, considering how few of them were printed, right?
Yeah,
Like if there's only
yeah,
3,000 printed,
yeah,
I can
yeah,
see, I still think it's a little crazy, but I do understand it a little more so. But you're
yeah.
right about the Mirage stuff. Like the other thing that I found yesterday, I haven't read it yet. It's on the
Mm,
to read pile, but he also had a
yeah.
copy of this that was put out by Mirage, and Kevin
Oh wow.
Eastman is doing art in here as well too. This
Mhm.
Grunts, and it's a pretty thick book as well. I don't know, does it say the year? Yeah, 1987 on the cover there.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I think that's the other thing about them that they did so well was that they kept control of everything. They didn't just kind of, hey, we've got a hit, let's sell it off to someone. They're like, no, 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 we're keeping the rights. These are our characters. We're going to let you
Mm,
do this and we're going to be involved. And because they were involved in like pretty much every step of the way, it just kind of panned out how they wanted to, as opposed to someone getting control of it and just, I mean, not that they didn't exploit it, because they definitely, toys and cartoons and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But still, they did really well with having that forethought to realize that we have something here. We need to retain this. And it probably has to do with their love of comics and seeing what happened with guys like Jack Kirby, that they realize that we've got to kind of take control of this. We got to make sure that we retain these rights in whatever we do, right? So,
yeah. Well, then it's actually really good that they weren't affected by somebody like Marvel to ask them to give them the rights. Imagine that, what kind of universe we would get that Marvel would have.
Yeah.
taken over, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
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 Yeah, you're right, AFPC. That's exactly right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the people who's basically going for it. Like I am going, like I'm continuously reading the original run because of that nostalgia. I still continue having.
Yeah.
Miso wants to know if you're still on Twitch.
Yeah, I did a little bit. I did a little live stream there yesterday showing off some stuff. I played a couple of Taco Tack episodes, one with Mobius and Drie actually it was like a little 15-minute episode. And then I played a Mad Balls VHS tape that I downloaded from SoulSeek. It was just like a 25-minute kind of stupid little thing. So yeah, not as often because there's not as much people over there. People that I talk to are here on YouTube, so it's not that many that are over on Twitch. Yeah, no worries, Miss So. It's good that you've caught some that you've caught. It's been great.
Yeah.
Scott Connor was actually there yesterday, which
Uh-huh.
was nice. Which was nice. So got to chat with him for a bit.
Yeah, there's more slabs. Everything's slabbed, and the price is like crazy priced. You have to slab in order to gain more money. Yes.
Yeah, which is all
Because
it's about. Like if you want to make money off your books, those slabs that I had, they're long gone now. But I mean, that's the way you make the money. Like it's just there's no denying it. Like the books raw, I would have gotten a fraction. Yes, you should have seen it yesterday. They had two videotapes that came out, and I played the second one, which was more like stupid gags and stuff. There was parts of the animation though that really looked like Terry Gilliam style Monty Python. It was clear whoever was in creative control of that, they were big Monty Python fans because there was a lot of Terry Gilliam style animation going on. But for the
cool.
slabs, if you want to make the money, like that's what you got to do. There's just no argument there. If you want
Yeah.
to make the actual the big bucks, you've got to slab that shit. There's no way around it, right? So
Exactly.
I mean
So
that
it's
that Batman animated one, the first Harley Quinn, I
uh-huh.
would have got a fraction of the price if it was unslabbed, but because I slabbed it and it came back as what I think it was a 9.2 or something insane like that, or it made it that much more money, like hundreds and hundreds of dollars more than it would have otherwise, right? So it's just the unfortunate reality of that aftermarket stuff, right? And I'm
Oh,
I'm happy to exploit it. Hello, Earl Grey.
wow. You late. Not that I'm saying late for you time
Yeah,
wise.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I meant.
Insomnia. You must have insomnia.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well. That's where the
Yeah,
money is at the end of
that's
it.
been like that for a while though. Those YouTube channels have been around for a while. Those
No, I think it's
speculator
even more
channels.
now. I think there's even people who just collect slabs in like collection. Oh, look, I have like collection. But imagine how much bloody plastic you own. Just like
Yeah,
a run of, let's say, early Dead 30 issues of Dido.
yeah.
Imagine all slab. I mean, how much fucking space do you have to
Well, shit,
have?
man. When do you got to slab the slab? Because you
Yeah.
got to make sure that you encase the slab in another shell as well to like keep the grade of that original slab, and it'll have a separate little grade. This slab is in 9.8. The comic is in 9.8. You know what I mean? So yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, never to be read again. Encased for life, like
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, just stuck in there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, but part of the things at the end of the day, unfortunately. But
Yeah,
even the trade cards, like they slap trade cards.
yeah, absolutely. I've been doing that for a while. Yeah, they've been doing that for a
Yeah,
while.
it's not new, yeah, of course, but it's just like you really trade card. But trade cards, yes, one thing because you have two but the comic book inside, you can't see inside anymore.
Yeah.
There's no more reading material.
But
Just the
honestly,
cover.
man, like look at your collections and buy into it a little bit because fuck it, man. Cash in. If there's people that are gonna buy it, cash in while you can. You know what I mean? Like make
Mm,
that money. So do I
yeah.
wish that I had that Batman animated for the collection? For sure I do. But I liked having the money a lot more because it helped us out that Christmas. You know what I mean? Like it was that much of a better Christmas for the family because I was able to sell that book. And that's just a fact, right? Like cash in on
Mm.
that shit. Because otherwise your collection, once you're gone, someone's coming and offering 20 cents a book if you're lucky for your collection. So fucking
Because
make money.
They don't have a clue your family members
Take
anything.
advantage of these people that want the slabs, I say.
Mm. Well, when you are closer to the America, it's easier, but when you're across
Yeah.
the pond, the shipping, whew.
But I mean, how many, like, do you, maybe you don't know because you're not into it
Yeah,
as much, but
no,
like I imagine there's probably just as much of a market
yeah.
overseas as there is for that stuff here, though, right? Like,
No, no,
is there
no.
a
The
lot of
market is there, but there
yeah,
is some companies who like do it for you as well. But then you pay for them, then you pay for them, and then you
right,
get your thing. So it's doubly expensive. There
right,
you
right,
go.
to get it overseas
Gosh.
to get slabbed and bring it back? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
totally, I hear you.
yeah, exactly. Because there's a specific companies people like buying from. You can't DB whatever CBS whatever is still existing because CGC is still there.
Yep,
He's the main guy. I presume. I'm not in that realm anyway, but
no,
I
for
see
sure.
some slabs and stuff. But honestly, yeah, it's if you have something, I was thinking like maybe I should do the Blade first appearance I have, which I could just slab it because I honestly should maybe.
Shit, yeah, man. You know, make the money. Do you have time for me to talk about one more?
Oh yeah, go for it because I don't have any more.
You don't? Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
go 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 go.
so Night of the Living
Oh,
Dead Prelude.
uh-huh.
This is one I talked about last week, and I flipped through it on my Sunday wrap kind of video or
Uh-huh.
whatever. Dude, this is unbelievable. This is like that. It kind of reminds me of like the joys of digging through these cheap bins and finding stuff like this. So this artist, I should give the credits here first. So Tom Scullin and art by Carlos Castro. What should I say? Get on it before I slap my channel. Yeah, absolutely. Encase your YouTube channel. This is so good. So this artist,
Uh-huh.
Carlos, also did art for the series that came out. I think it was like a 4-issue Night of the Living Dead. I'm a huge fan of Night of the Living Dead. I often
Mhm.
it's not my go-to to kind of go to the comic adaptations of stuff, but
Uh-huh.
this art was so good that it caught my attention. It's even better than I than I actually thought. Like the story is actually really good too. It really does give you that sense of you kind of follow a few different people as they start getting overrun by zombies and become zombified
Mhm.
before the 4-issue or 5-issue or 6-issue, whatever it happens to be, comes out. So this kind of gives you a nice little taste of what the story is going to be like, but also what the art is going to be like. And there was times where I felt like the art was a little too dark, but I think it all worked really well with the story. He's
Mhm.
not an artist that I'm familiar with, but man, if you see this out there, don't even hesitate. There was like a million Night of the Living Dead stuff, but this is from Fantico, and it's from 1991 is what
Mhm.
this is from. So if you see this series specifically from Fantico,
Mhm.
absolutely jump on it. And you
Mhm.
also get some. Let's get. There's a couple of these panels are pretty good here. I'll try
Oh
to
my
do as much
god.
of a reveal as possible.
Maybe it's good it's black and white.
Like, look at that. That is unreal.
Oh
That's some of
wow.
my favorite panels. And then it's this stuff on the side as well too that I think works really well, like moving you through the page as he's walking down the stairs and
Yeah.
going outside, like that
Oh
movement
wow.
on that one page alone is kind of worth the price of admission. But this is kind of
Mhm.
like, this is dollar bin stuff though. Don't pay any more than kind of $1 for it. The artist is Carlos Castro. So
Mhm.
Tom Scullin is the writer, and then Carlos Castro is the artist on it. And like I
Mhm.
said, he does the, because I looked on my comic shop as well. He does the art for the whatever it is. Like I said, I think it's a 4-issue miniseries. He does the art on that as well, so it's high on my list of books to find. But an absolute gem. Again, the what keeps me coming back to the dollar bins is
Yeah.
finding stuff like this. You just
I
never know
bet.
what you're going to find in those cheap bins. I
Mhm.
love this a lot more than I thought I would. And it's a lot better than it ever should be. I think for where you're just going to try to cash in on a movie, they didn't
Mhm.
have to put that much work into it, but the fact they did brings it to that next level for sure.
So it does it because you're a fan of the movies. Does this kind of explain, or does
No,
it
but I feel
follow the
like it fits
movie?
into the world really well. Like it fits
Okay.
into that. Because the
Uh-huh.
beautiful, I mean, there's so many good things about Night of the Living Dead as a movie. It talks about, it ends up kind of commenting on a lot of different things. But this really kind of, it just fits in that world so well that you still don't really know what's going on. This is kind of the early days of, there's not even many announcements on the radio of like, the dead have come back to life to devour the living, I think is the infamous line from
Yeah.
it, right? So this feels like it's even just pre that. It's just a little bit before that kind of announcement where people were, barricading themselves in their houses. These are the people that turn into those swarm of zombies that are coming for the last remaining humans. So it fits really nicely in there. And again, because it's black and white and it's so moody, they capture that mood so well. Because that was the other thing about the original, that black and white really added an extra layer to how good that and how kind of classic that movie is, right? So it translated really nicely to a comic book. One of the rare times I think where you can still capture what the movie did well in kind of a written form, right? Because there's not much story there. It's like, here's some people, they're going to have a little bit of dialogue, then they're going to get eaten, and then we'll go to these next people. They're going to have a little bit of dialogue. They're going to get eaten and zombified, right? So it's super cool. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's the thing. There's way more to discover still, and there is some good stuff in the '90s. But that's the thing. When I started collecting comic books, I think '90s were always something. Oh, you stay away from that. Like
Yeah.
don't go there. There's because of so much comic books and how many years it's been in productions and stuff like that. There's so much more to discover. But yeah, I understand that. Like you go to rummage for those boxes and find something and unexpected. That's the thing. That's the beauty.
Yeah.
You can surprise you. So that's great.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, do you have any more to
I
show?
mean, I've got a whole short box full. I read a lot. Like I read a lot,
Wow.
but I won't go too
Oh,
much crazier. Maybe I'll just talk about one more, just because it'll be a
go
nice
on.
one to leave off at a nice kind of
Go on.
lighter note.
All right, go on.
I only have 2 issues from the Pacific Comics run, but I found
Ooh.
another issue of Gru, the Wanderer from Pacific Comics meets Shakal, who apparently was based off of, at least visually, was based off of Aragone's wife. Apparently, I don't remember who was telling me that. Someone on Twitter was telling me that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it goes without saying, it's so much fun. I don't pick up Aragone's stuff nearly as much as I should. I definitely don't find the PC comics. Like I said, this is only the second issue that I have.
Yep.
It's so good. I kind of read this back to back with that Plastic Man, and they really work together because they're just more this kind of like lighthearted comedic storytelling, right?
Yeah.
But again, the thing that always impresses me and everybody else about Aragones is how much he packs into a page, with all of the kind of world building that happens and all of the characters doing something completely different. There's not people just standing around stiff in the background to kind of fill in space. They're all very active. And this story is kind of, Gru stumbles upon this town that's been overrun by bandits, I guess. And he ends up finding the bandits and he's friends with them, this Taranto, who he does, of course, at first Gru doesn't realize that these guys are the bandits, and he wants to go and help them because they tell him that they're going to go to these villages and offer their services to protect the towns from the bandits. So Gru does his usual stupid shit and is taken advantage of as they loot and pillage the building behind him as he's walking up the hill. And he eventually meets this, he starts hearing about this woman, Shakal, who he just falls in absolutely head over heels in love with. But she's just as vicious as he is, maybe even more so. So they kind of have their affair, in their fighting sort of, I don't know, their flirtatious fighting sort of way. Where's the good? There's some good kind of scenes here. Yeah, here we go. So she kind of sees he's kind of laying waste to people just like she is. But I mean, these pages are just unreal. They're so great just packed fill with people, and each of them look a little different, and each of them are doing something different. And you know that he's drawing that in about 35 seconds is the other thing, right? So he's still madly in love with her, and she's starting to realize, like, hey, maybe you're not that much of an idiot after all. So I don't know how many issues there were in this PC run. I think there might have only been 8 or 9 or something. And I'm not sure if these ones were then collected in, because eventually when Marvel picked them up, they did those collections. I think there was 4 volumes. So I think there might have only been 8 issues. And then there's an ad for this next one there. But I think they might have been reprinted by Marvel as well, too. But like I said, I never see these PC Gru, and this is only ever the second one. The other one that he had multiple copies of was the one that I already had. So no other issues but these 2 so far. But super, super fun. Really nice to read, especially back to back with Plastic Man.
Cool. I have not read many Aragones thing group. I'm kind of ashamed, and I should explore, because I like light-hearted comics, especially. And then the one thing I always forget, that Stan Sakai was letterer in it. Did you notice in the caption there, who's greatest, and says that Stan Sakai is a letterer.
Yes, so yes, that's correct. Yeah. And then what's his name? Mark Evanier helping with like scripting and stuff. Yeah,
he's the one who was working on that Kirby book in hardback. I think you remember.
That's right, because he worked with Kirby for a long time. I think as like an assistant or something, or at least at the very least a close friend. Anyway, so yeah.
Wasn't he inking his stuff? Or?
That could very well be. I'm not as up to date on that history, but yeah, you could be right for sure.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so it seems to be good reading time and time to sell your comics and get some new stuff in.
Yeah, and I'm starting to have another look through the bins too, of like, because I was doing some labeling yesterday. My wife got a new piece of tape for her labeling machine, so I was labeling some of the dividers, and it gave me a chance to look through some of the books. It's like, actually, this stack can probably go, but the ones that I have earmarked, I'm probably going to try to sell on one of the local Facebook groups, because I think I'll be able to make a couple of bucks there, as opposed to just trading them or selling them to one of the stores in town. I might be able to kind of make a little more money.
Yeah, I hate the ads on YouTube, by the way, just to point that out to people that talk about slabs and stuff like that. And
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I agree with Miss So. That seems pointless to do them modern age, but hey, it's a key issue, so you do slab them. Like that Thor movie came out with the issue number 2 of Cord the Butcher's appearance, and they go slab everywhere.
I slabbed that shit. I didn't make nearly as much money as I thought I would, though. But yeah, I made definitely a lot more than I put into it. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. So,
but I mean, then it's a thing of like, now that's a gap, because I mean, me and my son actually enjoyed that run as well too, because we were reading it when it was coming out. We actually really liked it, so now it's a gap in that collection. But whatever. Give me the cash. It allowed me to buy more dollar bin books, so.
Yeah. So on that note, people go buy dollar bin books rather than your slabs.
Yep.
And come watch us. And then next week's video will be in the Comic Cracks channel. So stay tuned. We'll post it last minute before we go live today. I was a bit twisted. I almost like, I'll do that. Like I actually quite happy I did it earlier, because it's actually less to think about. You know what I mean? Anyway, so thank you very much for sticking around, people, and Earl Grey and Sleepy and AFPC and Misso and oh my God, and Celia. So thank you very much, Dakio, whoever else, and Andrew Lopez and Jared Osborne and Rick Ray.
Yeah, Jared making an appearance.
Yeah, so thank you very much for coming. Hopefully you had, like, once again, happy Easter and whatever, if you did celebrate it. And yeah, we'll see you in the Comic Cracks channel.
Later.